It's the ultimate virtual reality gaming machine.
Here we are in, what is this, number 5. We're putting this together with the help of the expert, Ryan Shrout from PC's Perspective. Hello, Ryan.
How are you doing today?
I am very well. Today we
Good.
add, let's see, we've done the motherboard, we've done the GPU, we've done the case. Love that case. Love everything so far. We've put the processor in. It's an Intel chip, the 6700K i7. And now it's time for memory, RAM. And I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? I mean, how hard can it be? Didn't we choose the RAM in effect when we chose the motherboard?
You definitely choose the classification of memory, right? So when you choose the motherboard, you know, it's a DDR4 platform, right? So you know you got to go with DDR4. You know how many memory slots you have. We know that the processor is a 2-channel memory controller, so you need at least 2 DIMMs. But we actually went a little. We filled up the motherboard basically completely.
You have to add RAM still in pairs. You still do it that way?
Technically, you don't have to, right? Like if you wanted to run the system off 1 DIMM, you could, but you lose a little bit on the performance side because it is a 2-channel memory controller.
So is it interleaved between the two?
Nope, 2-channel. It's a dual channel. Now, once you get 4 modules, then yes, each channel will do that with 2.
And on this motherboard, 4 is as far as we can go.
Yep.
And how big are the sticks these days? Is 8 gigs as big as you can get, or can we go bigger?
That's kind of at the high end of reasonable cost today. Yeah.
We can get,
so I mean,
we can get bigger, but more dense as RAM, but you would pay the price for it.
Yes, correct.
Now you went with Corsair, certainly one of the great brand names in RAM. There's Kingston, there's Crucial, there's Corsair. Yep. Is it a commodity these days, or is there a difference in brands?
It's really is a commodity product, right? So Corsair's again has been one of those brands that's been around forever. You know, you have a little bit more faith in their kind of capability, their RMAs if you have problems, right? You know, those types of things is really what you're buying on. But you're really looking at performance to price as kind of the de facto standard when picking out a product.
And we're putting 32 gigs in.
Yeah, it seems a little high, but
you don't really need that. You know, I have a 16 gig machine, and I wish I had 32. I don't think it's a bad thing to max out the RAM.
It's never a negative, right? Except for the cost. You know, if somebody asked me today, could I still run Windows 10 on 8 gigs of memory? I would say yes.
Of course. In fact, Windows IoT on a Raspberry Pi is running in 1 gig of memory.
Right.
And I remember very well going to a computer store and a guy saying, you know, 8 megs is the perfect amount. You got 2 megs for the software, 2 megs for the operating system, 2 megs for your RAM disk, and 2 megs for the cache. Megabytes. So we got, what is this, 32,000 megabytes in this machine. Now, I noticed this RAM has a beautiful heat sink around it. Is that just styling, or do we really need these?
Yeah, you know, the heat sinks on memory are just the way things are now. I don't think they're really super necessary, but that's where you're at, right? And these are actually fairly toned down memory modules.
They don't have fins, right?
Right, they don't have fins. You know, I don't think we ordered the stuff that comes with an external fan.
Does it get hot?
They don't have LED lights. They get warm, but they don't get hot.
RAM's very easy to put in these days because it's keyed, so you can't put it in wrong. And these clips you just release the clips and you slot it in, and then sometimes you have to press it. I noticed that these weren't too hard on this motherboard anyway. I didn't have to press too hard to get these RAM in the slot.
Yeah.
And if the clips close and it's in, right, there's nothing else you need to worry about.
As long as make sure you've got the key on the memory module lined up with the key on the DIMM slot itself.
Right. So there's the key, and there's a little...
That's all there is. And since we're filling all 4 slots, you don't really have to worry about which slots get the memory first. But if you're only using 2 modules, that would be something to consider. You know, and for what we're building, the VR system, 32 gigs RAM is plenty. It's more than enough for any gaming you'll be able to do. But it also, you know, you're just kind of future-proofing. You're giving yourself a little bit more headroom for other things you might want to do into the future, essentially.
I just feel like sometimes, you know, obviously it's a point of diminishing returns, and we've gone well past that in terms of just running a game on an operating system. But, you know, you might have virtual machines. I mean, there's all sorts of things you end up doing if you have more RAM. So given that RAM has gotten so inexpensive,
Yes, I mean this is
How
a fairly
much?
expensive kit, about $170
Is that
for 32 gigs. Yeah,
that's kind of mind-boggling.
it really
I mean, it's not
is.
cheap, but that's so much cheaper. I mean, 170. I paid probably 500 for 64K of RAM. I mean, this is, but that's awesome, and it looks good in there. They say on the box overclockable. Is that something I should pay attention to?
You can if you want to, but honestly, the performance benefits you get out of increasing the clock rate of your memory are very minimal.
Yeah.
Even when you look at benchmarks, and even less when you're looking at real-world applications, right? And that's one of the reasons. So this memory is rated at 2,666 megahertz, so 2.6 gigahertz.
That's the bus. Is that the bus speed?
No, it's just the overall frequency of the memory.
Frequency of the RAM. Okay.
But it's on the low side for DDR4. But if you go up to like the 3200 or the 3400 and you want 32 gigs, you're going to pay a lot more for it. Okay. So in my book, it's a much better trade-off to get more capacity than more speed.
That's interesting.
On your memory.
So that's a point to take home from this is you don't need to go more than 2666. And the money you'll save will allow you to put more memory in, and that is going to give you more bang for the buck.
Yep.
Good to know. Vengeance LPX RAM from Corsair. It's DDR4. Motherboard's DDR4 compatible, so we wanted to put the fastest RAM we could. It could have a higher clock speed, but this is more than adequate for what we're going to be doing.
For sure.
Thank you, Ryan Shrout. More at PCPer.com. Don't forget the hardware leaderboard because he has it set up. Not only is he showing you how to build machines from the least expensive to the most expensive, he's even got how to build a machine as we are doing for the Oculus Rift for your VR future. That's what we're kind of trying to build here. Not just the ultimate gaming machine, but the ultimate VR gaming machine. We've got 5 segments in the can. You can see them all at youtube.com. And follow along. And boy, if you have $5,000 just lying around, maybe you'd want to build the ultimate VR gaming machine. I can't wait to get this thing fired up. We're getting close. Thanks, Ryan Shrout.
Thanks.